Welcome back to Fantasy Turf War. Week 12 is here, and I am, of course, your Commissioner Cory, and we have a ton of updates to get to this week, including some records that were set. So let's jump right in. I'm going to pull up the slides here. All right, so let's talk about Week 11 and how some of our divisions did. In Division 1, the Guinea Pigs, we have Bam Bam beating out Magic Makers 112-38 to 76-48. The coach's desk with a Century loss 103-08 to 103-36, losing to the lefties. Carswell Golf with a commanding 148-44, beating out Stat Daddies 92-32. You have Lamb Chops 89-30, losing to last place winner 113-66 with the upset. Teamer General OGFL 139-54, beating out Screaming Pomeranians with a tough loss 125-96. Teardown 92-68 to Floyd Beard 76-02. The Vibe with 137-24 to Lambeau Calrissian 68-68. And Jive Turkey losing a tough one to Jeff Avery and Jeff C. That's a typo there, 84-64. Let's take a look at the standings after this week. And we've had some lead changes. So Carswell Golf takes over the number 1 spot, followed by Lamb Chops, Desmond Ordonez, the Lefties, General OGFL, the Vibe, Stat Daddies, Teardown, Screaming Pomeranians, Magic Makers, the Coach's Desk, Avery and Jeff C., Lambeau Calrissian, Bam Bam, Floyd Beard, last place winner, and Jive Turkey still sitting in last place. So if you're new to the show, welcome. This is Fantasy Turf War, 64 teams head to head. 16 team divisions so 4 divisions of 16. Top 2 in each division at the end of week 14 make the playoffs, and they get seeded and then face each other in a bracket tournament. Bottom 1 in each division faces league punishment. So that is what your 2 in the green and 1 in the red is. So Division 1 shaping up to be pretty exciting. Come down here to the finish. Jive Turkeys has been sitting at the bottom for the last few weeks. Just can't seem to get out of there. Division 2, any given Sunday, who let the Service Dogs out with a 154-18 to the Mystics 81-24. Team Coco 85-48 to Full Times Fantasies 84-30. Southside Stampede with a 104-44 to 81-98 to Mark Manzella. The Ren Zone with a tough loss, losing the Lauren Bowl 112-88 to 122-68. Just Josh, and that's Lauren Hill. She's our host. Finally gets a win there. She's gone a few weeks without. Strange Brew 133-16 to Sports Idiot Nation 122-14. So some big Century loss games here this week in this division. Team Smooth 104-24 to Shady Brady's 92-16. Influencing a win with 82-12 to Legit Sports Media 69-18. And rounding it out, we have Game Time Sports Network 70-54 to Welker Home Peyton's 48-48. So big wins this week. Let's take a look at your rankings. Who let the Service Dogs out remains in number 1. Strange Brew is in number 2, followed by Shady Brady, Southside Stampede. These 4 teams have been trading in and out, but it looks like Who Let the Service Dogs Out might have pulled away here at the last second, so we'll see if he can hold on the last couple weeks. In the number 5 spot, you've got Sports Idiot Nation, followed by Team Smooth, Mark Manzella, the Mystics, Team Coco, Game Time Sports Network, influencing a win. Legit Sports Media, Full-Time Fantasy, Welker Home Peyton, Just Josh, and Lauren, you're in 15th. Followed by the other Lauren in 16th, the Ren Zone. Division 3, the Goats. You have Gridiron Goddess 88-40, losing to Dino Sports 125-54. That's an upset. Yippee-ki-yay, Justin Tucker 102-34 to 91-64, beating out the Bevskins. Gorilla Camp 90-28, losing to 195-22, Flurry Sports. That is a record. We're going to cover that here in a minute, but just mind-boggling numbers there. The Masterpiece is 122.88. Cup of Almond Ramen Noodles 80.56. Rad Dad Network taking another loss, 92-24, losing to Boba Sensei Nichelle Halleck, 100.82. So Rad Dad's on a 2-game lose streak, I believe. He was sitting number 1 for most of the season. Tank Latier also sitting at number 1 for a good chunk of the season, taking a loss to the Replacements 151-68. That was almost a record. Big Nick's Energy beating out Jordan Short 108-84 to 25-80, and Gilly's Gang 130-98 to Marketing Happy Hour Madness. Cassie Tucker. Her interview just dropped with us last week. Go check that out. 42-60. There we go. Got it. Words are hard sometimes. Your rankings, Rad Dad Network, you're still sitting at number 1, even with that extra loss. Flurry Sports jumping in number 2 with that record-breaking week, followed by Tank Latier, Bevskins, Gorilla Camp, Gridiron Goddess, Yippee Ki Justin Tucker, Dino Sports, Boba Sensei, Gilly's Gang, Big Nick's Energy, The Masterpieces, Cup of Almond Ramen Noodles, The Replacement, Marketing Happy Hour Madness, and Jordan Short sitting in 16. Big week there in Division 3. And Division 4, can't forget you. These are the Monarchs. Are you smarter than a fifth grader with a century loss to Figment's crew? That's Becky Mankin over at MEI Mouse Fan Travel. 112.88 to 120.44. Cobra Kai 70-32 losing to the Cardiacs 93-28. Downfield Reapers with a heartbreaker. I know he's upset. 115-14 to the Shi'ar Shugoths 123-62. Cupertino Deadites 49-50 to Bees in the Backfield 97-78. A Fantasy Couriers podcast with a big win, 109-50, beating out Excitement, 53-02. The Crush Crew taking a loss, 62-08 to the Cleveland Thunderbolts, 99-38. Diamond Dogs with a 148-60, beating out the Ohana Rizzlers. They needed that win to stay alive. Locked On Fantasy Baseball with a 111-74 to the Tabaka City Troopers. Good to see you're finally getting a win there, Matt. You had a rough week last week. I think you had like 50 points. Tabaka City Troopers putting up 104-06. Let's take a look at your rankings. Fantasy Courier sitting on top, followed by the Locked On Fantasy Baseball. I don't believe that's a change at all this week. You have Bees in the Backfield, Team Ohana Rizzlers, Downfield Reapers, Shi'ar Shugoths, Diamond Dogs, Tapaka City Troopers, Figment's Crew, Cobra Kai, Cardiacs, the Crush Crew, Cupertino Deadites, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, Cleveland Thunderbolts, and Team Excitement. Now, one of the awesome things about Fantasy Turf War are the statistics that come out each and every week, and this week is no exception. So let's take a look. As you can see, the average points per division, bit of a fluctuation from all 4 divisions, but again, it's a massive increase from last week, which was our season low across the board. Now we've rebounded nicely, so good to see everything's still pretty much on track. Average points per division. So we usually say if you score 100 points in a week, you should be able to expect to win. That is not always the case. As you saw, we have some century losers. So they scored over 100 points and still lost the game. This week was a little bit different depending on what division you were in. The average score in Division 1 was a 102.95, so incredibly high compared to Division 2, which was 96.82. So it just depends on what league you were in this or what division you were in this week. This is the cumulative over the season, so this is where we say if you score over 100 points, you should be expecting to win. That is still true across the board for the entire season. The closest you get is a 99.05 in Division 1, but all the other ones are in the 97 range. So if you scored 100 points, you should expect to win, but of course there are exceptions. High-low, there is finally a change to this. As we saw, there was a new record set with the 195.22 out of Division 3. Everything else is the same. Total league points. So you can kind of see, I took out all the extra numbers. So you have the highs and the lows, and then where we were this week. So high was a 97.52 back in week 8. Last week was our worst week with 58.64. So we rebounded quite nicely at a 64.03. Speaking of records, there was a previous record of most points scored in a single game that was set by Cameron Bassett back in week 6 of 169.86. That record is, of course, shattered this week as Zach Brunner over at Flurry Sports has put up a whopping 195.22 against Gorilla Camp. So, Gorilla Camp put up 90 points. Flurry put up over 100 more than him, which is not a record, but very close. And we have our best week ever. There's 5 people in this week. Each of these 5 teams has climbed 7 spots in the rankings. So Becky Mankin over at MEI Mouse Fan Travel, Jesse Grund at Unconventional Fitness, Gilly Gilmartin, Kurt Swilly over at Peachtree Growler, and Scott Habib over at Masterpiece Alliance. You are having the best week ever. You've climbed 7 spots. And of course, there's a worst week ever, so that's Dragons Forward and Mark Manzella. You have both dropped 9 spots this week, so unfortunately, you are having the worst week ever. Better luck next week. This is the part everyone usually looks forward to. If you tuned in on Tuesday night, you know that we dropped our rankings in that show first. So we have a new leaderboard change here. Number 1 spot is now Charles Carswell over at Carswell Golf. He's got 1336.28 on points scored. Excuse me, don't know why I'm yawning so much. He jumps 2 spots to get there this week. Dennis Tresca is finally knocked out of the number 1 spot after multiple weeks, if not the entire season of being in the number 1 spot. He still has the most points scored at 1379.46, but he does have an extra loss compared to Carswell. So he will lead the pack, so to speak, but that number has been getting closer and closer as the weeks have gone on. So hopefully Dennis can hang on to the playoffs, but it's not looking that great in terms of a trend right now. Finishing out the top 8, you've got Cameron Bassett jumping up to number 3. Desmond Ardonia is dropping to 4th. DJ Dove and JJ Wang, the Fantasy Couriers, at number 5, followed by Pastor Jack, Zach Brunner again with his record week, and Eric Arena jumping into 8th spot. So all these teams are all the way down to 8 and 3 is a top 8 team. 9 through 16, you've got Mike Lanza, Matthew Ane is our co-host, of course. Goodness gracious. Teamer Terry, General GFL. Dan Brown Jr., Tank Latier, how he's fallen. He used to be number 2 for the longest time, down to 13. Kevin Beverly, Joe Knight, and Renee Neal at top 16. 17 to 24, you've got Justin Davies, Michael Crystal, Matthew Metzbauer, Jeffrey Demers, Ben Fisher, T.I. Jonathan Mohan, Talon Van Horn, and Matt Josephs. 25 to 32, you've got Jesse Grund, Timothy Trilk, Mike Brick, Susan C., Eric Lund, Michelle Halleck, Gilly Gilmartin, and Becky Macon. I think that's a season high for Becky at 32. 33 to 40, you've got Kurt Swilly, Vegas Matty, Mark Manzella, Casey Woolley, Casey Garcia, Cardiacs, Team Coco, and Jay Harper. 41 to 48, Alex Kaplan, Adam Marino, Scott Habib, Chet Atkins, Zach Fisher again with the worst week ever, Sean Pettinati, Nick Nichols, and Avery and Jeff C. 49 to 56, Matthew Remick, Sebastian Bassett, Matthew Brandon, Katie and Jet, Lauren Hill, our host. She jumps 2 spots with a win this week. Brian Gobble, Matt Brown, and Andy Schiffer. And the bottom 8, you've got Floyd Beard, Richard Falls, Lauren Kaler, Dan Boyle, DJ Hall, Julius Adams, Cassie Tucker, and Jordan Short. And you'll see that Lauren Kaler has the highest points scored against her this week. So she has broken 1,000 points in terms of points scored, but she's also had 1,200 points scored against her, which is the highest in the league. So she has had the roughest schedule so far. And then Jordan Short has put up the least amount of points so far. All right, week 12, we're getting into it. We've got 3 games left before the playoffs. Let's see who's playing who and how that may impact the playoff projections. So you've got Big Andy Media, Bam Bam, playing against the Screaming Pomeranians. The Magic Makers against Floyd Beard. Scott Pettinati and Jive Turkeys. Carswell Golf trying to hold off his number 1 spot against General OGFL. Desmond Ardonia is in the Lamb Chops taking on the Lefties. See if he can hold on to his spot in the playoffs. Richard Falls against Lambo Calrissian. And Tear Down against Stat Daddies. So this is one of the highlight games this week. Both teams are on the edge of elimination. So the loser of this game is likely eliminated from the playoffs. So it's a must-win scenario for both of them. And the Vibe against Jeff C. The Vibe is also in that category of on the edge of elimination, so this is a must-win game for him. Let's see if Jeff C. can play spoiler. Division 2, any given Sunday. Who Let the Service Dogs against Mark Manzella. The Mystics against the Ren Zone. Team Coco against Legit Sports Media. Dan Brown Jr. against Welker Home Peyton. Full-Time Fantasy against Shady Brady. Strange Brew against Team Smooth. Team Smooth is also in the category of about to be eliminated, so this is a must-win game for him. Strange Brew can afford the loss, not by much, but Team Smooth would be eliminated if they lose this game. And same thing is true for Sports Idiot Nation against Influencing a Win. So these two are friends and partners over at their show. So this is an interesting game to watch, but Sports Idiot Nation must get the win here as Adam Marino has already been eliminated. And Game Time Sports Network against Just Joshin. Lauren is trying to fight to stay out of the bottom of the division for punishment's sake. Division 3 in the Goats. Gridiron Goddess is in a must-win scenario against Jordan Short. She must win to stay alive. Dino Sports against Bevskins. Dino Sports also has to win to stay alive. Yippee Ki Justin Tucker must win against Swamp Kings if he wants to stay alive. And another highlight game, Gorilla Camp against Boba Sensei. Boba Sensei coming with another big win last week, but the loser of this game is likely eliminated. So must-win scenario for both teams. Flurry Sports with his record week against the replacement. Both teams put up record highs last week. Replacement put up 150 points. Flurry Sports, of course, put up 195. The masterpiece against Rad Dad. Rad Dad's trying to fix his downward trend and hopefully hold on to the playoffs before they show up. Tank Talk against Cup of Almond Ramen Noodles. And Peachtree Growler against Marketing Happy Hour Madness. And finally, you've got Division 4, the Monarchs. Sebastian Ambassador, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader against Team Ohana Rizzlers. Casey Garcia at Cobra Kai is in a must-win scenario against Team Excitement. Another elimination game. You've got Downfield Reapers playing the Diamond Dogs, both very good teams, both 6 and 5, and similar in rankings. But the loser of this game is likely eliminated from playoff contention. And our formal game of the week, you have multiple things going on here. So you've got the Dragon's Horde and the Cupertino Deadites against Shi'ar Shugoths. So it's the Battle of the Brothers. So not only do you have family rivalry going on the week before Thanksgiving, but you also have the game of the week in that Dragon's Horde must win this game to keep their playoff contentions alive, and it would also put Shi'ar Shugoths in a very bad spot if they were to lose this game, but not likely eliminated. They probably have another game to go. But this is a very exciting game. We'll be posting this one all week on social media. And our other game of the week, you've got the Fantasy Couriers against Lockdown Fantasy Baseball, Matthew Ane against DJ Dove and JJ Wang. This is the number 1 and number 2 teams in the division currently, so a loss on either team puts them in risk of not making the playoffs and, potentially messing up the playoff implications in terms of their seeding. So neither team wants to lose this one. They can both afford to do it, but I think Matt needs to win this one more than the Couriers do, just because his average points scored per game is a little bit lower than theirs, and so you want to put as much cushion as you can. But neither team wants to lose, but one of them is going to, so we'll have to see which one. And the Crush Crew, Chet Atkins, is in a must-win scenario against the Topeka City Troopers. Bees in the backfield, and Becky Mankin over MEI Mouse Van Travel is in a must-win scenario. Team Cardiacs against the Cleveland Thunderbolts. Team Cardiacs is in a must-win scenario. And so now let's take a look at our playoffs and what we are looking at as of today. So top 2 teams in each division are going to be seeded into the playoffs. And so you can see these are the 8 teams that are currently in contention or currently in the seed. So you've got Carswell Golf, Desmond Ordonez, Who Let the Service Dogs Out, Strange Brew, Rad Dad Network, Flurry Sports, the Fantasy Couriers, and Matthew Ane over at Lockdown Fantasy Baseball. Top record is a 10-1. Bottom record is an 8-3. That is shared by Flurry Sports and Lockdown. So curious to see who stays in the seat and who falls from it. Let's take a look at who's in the hunt going into the end of this and who might be spoilers for these guys. You've got the lefties and General OGFL, excuse me. Matthew Lanza and Shady Brady and Dan Brown Jr. over at Division 2. For Division 3, the Goats, you've got Tank Talk and Bevskins trying to fight their way in. And in Division 4, you've got Renee Neal and Matthew Metzbauer over at Team Ohana also trying to find their way in, see who can get there. And these teams are still not mathematically eliminated, but they've got a long way to go, and they essentially need to win out. You've got Joe Knight Tear Down, Stat Daddies, Sports Idiot Nation, Timothy Trilk over Team Smooth, Matt Josephs, Eric Lund, Susan C. over Gridiron Goddess, Michelle Halleck, Talon over at Gorilla Camp, Team Cardiacs, Dragon's Horde, Chet Atkins, MAI, Mouse Van Travel, Becky Mankin, and Casey Garcia. Still looking for a way in, but they need to win out to have any chance at all. So still in there. I think a lot of these teams are going to fall off, but we'll see. Let me know who you think is going to win this week. That is all we had for slides, but yeah, we're getting real close to the playoffs here. We've got 3 games to play. This episode is going to air on Thursday, so one of the games, I believe it's the Steelers and the Browns, will be playing as this airs. So curious to see how that goes, but everyone knows what's at stake. Trophies for each division, trophies for the overall winner, punishments for the overall losers, and a whole lot of movement. So it's getting interesting. I'm so glad we are getting down to the wire here, and it is as interesting as I've ever seen it in Fantasy Turf War. So I appreciate all the teams. I appreciate all of you at home. It's getting real, and we'll be following along on social media, as you should too. There's a contest going on through December 6th to try to win some awesome prizes, including autographed jerseys from Kurt Warner, Adrian Peterson, and plenty more. There's 10 prizes to go around. Currently, I think there's 80 people in the contest, so good chances to win. We're also giving away a $50 gift card if we cross 150 followers on Facebook, so that we can stream live there on Tuesday nights as well. So if you're not following along on Facebook, you're missing out. Give us a chance to stream live to you on Facebook, and go follow us there. And I'm your Commissioner Cory, and as we always say, be excellent to each other, be kind, and I will see you guys next time.